Season 2, episode 3 is one of my favorite episodes of all time of The Chosen. I think it shows us a lot of different things. Not only does it show us that The Chosen clearly has an amazing cast and crew, not only does it show us a lot of the insights into how these apostles and the followers of Jesus are thinking, but specifically for the apostles, specifically for these Jewish people, it shows us what their mentality is for the Romans, for the Messiah, and for themselves being Jewish overall. Now, I would love to sit down and just watch this entire episode with you guys and break down every little piece. However, we're going to look at the ending part of this campfire scene as they talk about being Jewish and what does that actually mean to them. There's a lot of really amazing moments in here for sure. So let's check this one out.
I've grown to love being Jewish, and I've grown to love following the law, but it can be exhausting.
Following the law or being Jewish?
Both.
It always has been. Even before the occupation.
Yes, but aren't we used to it by now? Hasn't it made us stronger?
I don't get it, if I'm honest. I don't know why God has allowed the occupation. I'd love to ask him more about that.
This has got to be a really hard question, right? Imagine someone has taken over your country. They're controlling everything. They're beating and killing your people. And you have to ask yourself the question, why would God allow this to happen? And especially for Israel, God has told them, hey, you're my chosen people, right? This has got to be a really hard question that they all have to kind of ask themselves. And we see this moment here as all of these Jewish people have to now kind of wrestle with that answer.
Why this has been allowed for so long? It's hard to feel like the chosen people. I've been there.
But it's all worth it now, yes? The wait is over.
That look up by Simon always cracks me up. It's just like, oh, here comes the trouble.
What about you? What do you mean? Has it been difficult for you all this time? The occupation, following Jewish law?
My life has not been easy.
This scene is written so well. Just like the people's reaction to things, how people gang up on each other, how they're defending each other. Like, it's just so well written. So well written.
It hasn't. What was more painful for you? Escaping Roman persecution by working for them, or escaping your guilt with all the money? And now...
Oh man, that's such a harsh moment from Simon. What was harder, being protected by Romans that killed all of our people, or having to deal with lugging home all those bags of money that like, it's such a harsh moment there.
Oh, you're catching up on Torah and wanting to follow the law. Why now all of a sudden? Why not all the other times you had the chance?
Simon?
No, John, I want to know. Mary had horrible trauma. She didn't choose all that happened to her. What's your excuse?
Yeah, it's kind of true, because Matthew did choose to serve the Romans. He wasn't forced into it. It wasn't a bad thing that happened to him. His parents didn't die and he was orphaned and then he needed to become a tax collector. In fact, his parents are still alive, right? We saw them at the end of season 1. Like, this is just something that he chose to do. He chose to betray his people. And so Simon's not wrong, as we're going to hear from Andrew here in a second, but at the same time, the way that he's going about it maybe isn't the perfect way.
What do you want me to say? I don't know what you want from me.
An apology.
What?
Simon's not wrong. He could be more delicate about it, but you did choose to work for them. And you made my life even harder than it already was.
Walking up into this conversation has to be one of the most awkward things ever, especially for Mother Mary, who doesn't really know anybody here. Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be super awkward.
And you haven't apologized.
No, don't say it. I don't want you to apologize. It doesn't matter. What would hearing him say sorry do? I won't forgive it anyway.
What keeps putting you in authority? Who are you to forgive or not to forgive?
What, you're on his side?
No, of course not, but you've had your problems too. What about apologizing for what you almost did to us with the Romans?
I didn't go through with it. I was trying to save my family's life, and I love you, John, but that's not something you have to worry about when Zeb and Salome are looking out for you.
Yeah, so here, John has some great points as well. Like, you almost betrayed us as well. You almost betrayed my dad that was fishing on Shabbat, right? And look, like, are you going to say sorry to us? Like, are you going to say sorry? Like, what's happening? Are you going to apologize? Which he does here, right? And he says, I'm sorry for that. It's interesting here because in this episode in particular, obviously Simon is not ready to hear an apology from Matthew. He just wants to point out to the rest of the group that, hey, are we just okay, like, living with this guy? Because I'm really not. Right. Hey, real quick, if you really want to see us make more content on this channel, the best way to do that is through our Patreon at snipesupport.com. So you can go to that in the link down in the description down below, and you can pledge $5, $10, or $25, and you can cancel at any time. So we would really love to have you over there. We actually post a lot of extra content, including special things that I'm doing during the week. For example, this last week I met with Dallas, and I was able to do some other content that's going to be coming out soon. So if you want to learn more about that, go over to our Patreon, and you can see all those behind the scenes posts and see what's going on in my life throughout the week, not just during these videos. So anyway, thank you guys so much for your support. You guys are amazing. Let's get back to the video.
But you put me in a desperate position where I did things I would never have done otherwise. And I've repented for them. And John and James, I am sorry, but I didn't go through with it.
What is your excuse? I was a successful businessman, and yet I was always
He
behind.
wasn't your tax collector.
I love Thomas jumping in on this too, because he's like, even though Matthew wasn't his tax collector, obviously Thomas would have had a tax collector, and he did have a successful business, and that tax collector took advantage of him just like Matthew would have done to everybody in Capernaum. And so it's really interesting to see that kind of cultural bias, that kind of hatred towards tax collectors be even in someone like Thomas here.
Quit defending him. I want an answer.
Hey, you're new.
Do you even know what it's like to be...
I love that refute from Big James. Hey, you're new. Like, just because he's new, he can't have a say here. It's such a funny line to me.
Jewish? To suffer for centuries and centuries because of it, but to still commit to it? To protect our heritage even though it never stops being painful, because the one comfort we have is to know that we're doing it together. That we're all suffering together. But if we just wait a little longer, if we hold tight just a little more, we'll have rescue, because we're chosen, all of us. And you betrayed that, and you spit on it. I can't forgive it. I'll never forgive it.
All right. You said what you needed to say. Sit down, Simon.
You sit down first.
I love this so much. Of course, this is so indicative of the scriptures that we see of the apostles fighting all the time. They're always at each other's throats. They're always fighting about stuff. Which is going to be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? You're right about this. You're wrong about that. Like, you shouldn't have done that. Even in Acts, right, we see that, like, even Peter and Paul have moments like this, or Paul and Barnabas. Like, these are people, right? And especially men, right? Who have these issues. Now, at the end of this episode, I can't really show too much of it because there's a lot of music that goes along with it, and there's always issues there. I'll play it, but without the music here. We see that Jesus walks up totally destroyed, right? And we see as Mother Mary gets this moment to help him to get into bed, as he has his feet washed by Mother Mary, and then he begins to pray as he goes to sleep. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives sleep to my eyes. And so, a beautiful moment here. Of course, this piggybacks off of an earlier moment we didn't really go over, where Mother Mary complains, or she's kind of like showing her sadness over the fact that Jesus might not need her anymore. And that he is a grown man and he has his own ministry. And of course he is the Messiah. And because of those things, she feels like she's not needed at times, where at the end of this episode, of course, it's showing, hey, she is still needed. He still loves his mom, and she'll always be there for him, which is such a beautiful moment there. But yeah. Yeah, I love that scene so much. What did you guys think about that episode overall? What are your thoughts on season 2, episode 3? Do not miss next week when we talk about season 2, episode 4, because I'm going to have so much to break down on that episode. And it's another experimental episode where the first 10 minutes of that episode doesn't have any dialogue whatsoever. It's just music. So we're definitely going to have to talk about that. We're definitely going to have to jump into the behind the scenes on that. So many amazing moments there. So let me know your thoughts about this episode. And of course, we'll see you on the next one.